I'm Amber, and this is Amber Unabridged. So I'm here very obviously with my January wrap-up. I'll just get into it. The first book that I finished was volume 16 of Dengeki Daisy by Kyosuke Motomi. I have been reading this manga series since the first volume was published in the United States, and I took a hiatus of a couple of years because I was buying all of the volumes and I got to a point where I just didn't have the money, and then I wasn't reading them, even though I was sort of reading the chapters as they were translated online by fans. Semi-recently, I was like, I finished reading the ones that I owned, which included 3 that I hadn't ever read before, and then I decided to just get the rest from the library. Eventually, I would like to own them all. I would like to have the complete story. I really, really loved it. It's kind of dubbed by the author as a comedy romance story. I rated Dengeki Daisy volume 16 5 stars. The next book that I read in January was There by Tommy Orange. It was really interesting. I liked it a lot. I didn't love it, but I liked it a lot. It's an Own Voices Native American story about a number of people, and it's kind of a story told through many different people involved in the events of the story. So that was a really neat way of doing that. I rated that 4 stars. The next was Smoke and Mirrors, Short Fiction and Illusions by Neil Gaiman. I really loved it. There were some stories that didn't completely get me, but other ones I was completely just totally dove right into them. It was really enjoyable, and I really enjoyed all of the kind of magical elements to them. I've been getting more into Neil Gaiman. My initial introduction to him was through the episodes of Doctor Who that he'd written, and the first story of his that I'd read was also a Doctor Who story. Then I went into American Gods, which I wasn't crazy about, and Norse mythology, which was very interesting, but I felt that it was stories that already existed that he was retelling, and I didn't feel that I had a really good sense of him as a writer. Smoke and Mirrors was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I finished in January was Educated by Tara Westover. This is a nonfiction about her growing up in kind of a very minimal homeschooling and preparing for the apocalypse, to going to college without a high school education or a GED, and ended up getting degrees from Cambridge and I think Harvard. It was a really interesting read, and I gave it 5 stars. The next several books I read in Barnes & Noble shopping for my nephew's first birthday presents. There were many delightful books. I settled on a couple of them, and then I also found another one. The couple of books that I read were What Do You Do with a Problem by Kobe Yamada. For my nephew's baptism, I'd gotten him What Do You Do with an Idea by the same author, and I just absolutely loved that story, and What Do You Do with a Problem is similarly amazing. I think that they're so great. And there's another one, I think it's What Do You Do with... I don't remember what the third book is, but there's 3 books by this author that are kind of all along a similar vein. They're really cute and the art's fantastic. They're picture books. They're so great. I have this kind of weird obsession with picture books in that I loved them as a kid and I still love them as an adult. I think that you can learn so much from a picture book even if you're not the intended audience. So I kind of have it as part of my mission to help my brother and my sister-in-law grow my nephew's personal library now. He's like 11 months old, but he's getting all the books. I gave What Do You Do with a Problem 5 stars. The next one is Moon, A Peek Through Picture Book by Britta Teckentrup. I have no idea if I pronounced that right. It was cute. The art was good. I gave it 4 stars. I also read Under the Same Sky by Britta Teckentrup, and again, I really liked the art. The story was fine. It was cute. I gave that one 3 stars though. The next is Luna and the Moon Rabbit by Camille Witcher. I really liked that. I thought it was really cute. The moon rabbit was super adorable, and I gave that one 4 stars. The next book is Tuesday by David Weisner. I loved it. There's a lot of frogs. It's a picture book told almost entirely in pictures. There's very, very little text in it. It doesn't need a lot of words. It gives you a lot to think about, and it really sparks your imagination and your creativity, and I really appreciated it. I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read was Never Grow Up by Jackie Chan. I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoy a lot of his movies. I just really appreciate his comedic fighting style and his prop use, and I learned a lot about the integrity that he approaches his films with. I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I read was The Betrayal of Mary, Queen of Scots, Elizabeth I and Her Greatest Rival by Kate Williams. I was kind of in a nonfiction kick for like a week and a half. I'd never spent any time really learning about the Tudors, Mary Queen of Scots, Elizabeth I, Henry VIII, any of that. And it's something I've always been interested in looking into further, and I just never have. So I listened to this. I really enjoy the way it was told. The author kind of tells the story as though she's a fly on the wall or as if she's inside everybody's heads and knows what they're thinking. I gather from the story that there was a lot of research done. I just found it really fascinating. I really enjoyed this book and I gave it 5 stars. The next book is An Irish Country Doctor by Patrick Taylor. I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I also listened to the audiobook for An Irish Country Village by Patrick Taylor, which is the second book in the Irish Country series. Also delightful, also fantastic and entertaining. I gave that one 4 stars. The next book that I finished is the only one I have a physical copy of on me right now, and that is Parable of the Talents by Octavia Butler. I love Octavia Butler so much. Everything by her is amazing. If you can read any of her books and not feel anything, then you are a cyborg. This book is absolutely amazing. It is the sequel to Parable of the Sower, and this book is terrifying in an amazing way. It presents a future that isn't necessarily outside the realm of possibility in an apocalyptic, politically terrifying kind of way. This book is so good and it is so important. It says a lot. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It broke me a little bit, but what is good literature if it doesn't break you a little bit sometimes? The final book that I read in January was How to Be a Good Creature, a memoir in 13 Animals by Cy Montgomery. It was alright. There were some parts that I did not enjoy, and I was just personally really uncomfortable with the amount of time she spent talking about spiders. That aside, I liked the concept, though I was not super enthusiastic about the execution, and I gave it 3 stars. So all in all, I read 15 books in January. There were some really good ones. There were some that were alright. I luckily didn't encounter any that were complete poop. I'm glad that I was able to read books both from Ireland, granted they were Northern Ireland, and I was able to read some books from Japan. I read 1 book from my shelf and a couple books in translation. There's definitely a couple of women authors, definitely authors of color, so I'm excited to be keeping up with my goals. I didn't do so great with reading books that I own. I will try to do better this month, though I am planning on listening to a lot of audiobooks again, and I do have many comics out from the library that I've been trying to get through, so we will see. So that was my January wrap-up. If there were any that sounded particularly interesting that you'd be interested in a full review of, comment below. If you've read any of these books, please let me know. I hope that you enjoyed my January journey and that you read some awesome stuff. Bye!